I'm currently reading this book called Nuclear War, and I may have mentioned it before, but I'm a little farther into it, and it's one of the craziest books I think I've read. So the author interviewed as many people as she could they had access to classified stuff relating to nuclear. So there was a meeting that happened in the late 50s, early 60s. I don't remember the year exactly, but basically all of these people met in an underground bunker and decided what the United States' nuclear war policy was going to be. And essentially they came up with the idea that if we have an imminent nuclear attack coming on us, that we are automatically going to retaliate, and then what that retaliation looks like. And essentially they just signed us up for destroying the world if anyone attacks us. And the other thing that's crazy about it is they also determined that the president is the only person that can decide what to do, and they have this little thing near them that one of the Secret Service agency agents carries, and they call it the football, and it's like this aluminum bulletproof fireproof case, and in the case are the currently updated plans of destroying the world. So it's basically like a menu of destruction, of nuclear destruction, and no one knows what's completely on it except for, like the people involved in putting the football together, and not even like the president knows what's on it until he like pulls it out. And they don't do any training with the president on like what he should pick and what he should consider and the context of the situation, and they don't even do drills with him on any of the stuff. But it's a menu of destruction. Option A is destroy all of these targets, and these are the missiles that we have pointed at those targets, and this is the amount of people that would be dead if you choose this one. And so those are the menu options. It's a wild thing because if we have a missile coming at us, the president has 6 minutes to decide by looking at this fucking menu on whether or not he wants to destroy the entire world. And so when you're reading the book, you're conflicted because it feels like too many secrets are being revealed. But then as you are reading it, you realize that this is baseline common knowledge. If you're in this nuclear government world, what you don't know is just, surpasses this. But just like getting caught up to baseline is crazy, and it's conflicting, and it makes you feel really weird at how vulnerable things actually are. And the book interviews all these people, and they create a scenario, like a hypothetical scenario of if North Korea were to attack the United States with one missile, what would happen? And it paints that picture like very vividly, and it's very scary. And one of the craziest things is that if we retaliate on North Korea, in order to do that, some of the missiles have to be launched over Russia. And so if we don't have communications with Russia at that time, which is hard to do within a 6-minute window, because again, there's this confirmation of, yes, we're being attacked by a nuclear weapon, but then we have 6 minutes to make decisions. And part of that decision making is also somebody has to get in touch with, the president of Russia so that they don't retaliate as well. And it's very hard to achieve that in 6 minutes, when the president also has to decide whether or not he's destroying the planet. And so because we have missiles that have to go over Russia will automatically also attack. And so then it creates this like domino effect of just every country retaliating in some way, and then NATO is getting involved, and then Europe, and then it's like all of Russia's allies are getting involved, and it's just like this fucking insane thing, and then the world's done. And then that's it. And it all is derived from this situation of North Korea shoots a missile at us. And it's just fucking wild. And the main targets are the Pentagon and nuclear power facilities. Because if you drop a nuke on a nuclear power facility, it essentially creates a super radioactive lava that burns itself into the earth for thousands of years and destroys everything around it. After you read that, you go, oh, I think this is why we don't have more nuclear power plants, actually because of nuclear war. So yeah, that book's fucking crazy. I recommend it if you want to be kind of terrified of the vulnerability of all of that. Like, I can't tell you if I feel better knowing or not, It's definitely interesting, but it makes me want to dig like a 100-foot hole fallout shelter underneath my house. I learned that if Wyoming was a country, it would be the biggest nuclear power in the world. So that's kind of interesting. Didn't know that Wyoming had that many nuclear weapons stored away in it, hidden away. Also, apparently, like Montana and North Dakota, South Dakota, like the people that own the lands out there rent the land to the government so that they can make secret nuclear launch pads like underground. So that's also interesting. Further, all of those facilities, like those nuclear facilities that are like secret to the public, there's essentially spies from every country positioned around them so that they can notify the country when we're launching missiles ahead of time. And that's like known, like a known thing. And then we have spies on spies on spies. The movie Oppenheimer shows what happens like as they built that little nuclear town to create the nuclear weapon. Apparently there was a guy there that in the beginning stages of testing that like walked around. He had like one of these nuclear activated balls, let's say. The dude dropped it and there was a person there with him and he protected that person. Like he sort of did like a Steve Rogers jumping on the grenade type of thing, but it was like activated nuclear plutonium or whatever the fuck it is. And they didn't know any of the things that radiation poisoning does to you. And so the guy was such a scientist that while he was like laying there about to like pass out, he graphed where he was in relation to the thing that fell and where everybody else was in there. Like he made like a chart so that they would know like if you were 3 feet away from, you know, this activated plutonium that falls, that this is what would happen to you. And then they spent like all this time trying to resuscitate him, and essentially he welcomed them to do it as like a science experiment, so like to figure out if there's a way to like cure people with radiation sickness. And this is the first person with radiation sickness that like doctors were able to work on, and it was from this accident that happened. That was a sad, crazy story. They didn't address that in Oppenheimer. The movie. I think that would take it away from the protagonist. At least I don't think they address it. Maybe they did like offhandedly, but all that stuff is crazy though. And it's crazy that all of that information is like baseline. That's introductory 101 nuclear. Then who the fuck knows where it's at now. Also, if you look at voting for the president under the guise that they're gonna have 6 minutes to decide if they're gonna blow up the whole world, like it puts who you vote in as president under a different light. Like what would either candidate decide? And of course that'll never be like a debate question. Like what would you do if North Korea launched a nuclear warhead at the Pentagon? You have 6 minutes to decide. What is your decision? Good luck. I think that's about everything I've learned from that book so far.